Last Saturday, there was a protest in Melbourne. The police watching over it were fully masked up in fear of what they might catch. People on the street would make a point of putting their mask on when they saw the protest group approaching, perhaps as more of a political statement than any actual fear.
24 hours later.
There was another march in Melbourne on Sunday. The police decided to join in with that one. They got in amongst the people without wearing masks. The Chief Commissioner Shane Patton was having a great time waving his flag instead of instructing his troops to incite violence with impunity and then blame it on protesters as he usually does. Those lining the streets, very few bothered with masks. And the dictator himself made an appearance, a bit of a difference to when he called other groups selfish. So why all the masks and fear one day, but not the next? Is the mask a political symbol?
Now, see, what you didn't know is that these rainbow-colored flags actually have physics-defying magical protective properties, and people who believe and want freedom just simply don't have that. Yeah. Trust the science. BLM, brothers. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski here of WeAreChange.org. And we got some very interesting news to talk about, especially from last night's Super Bowl in Los Angeles, which marks a very important, significant political shift in our society that, of course, we're going to be talking about in this video, as well as the new state of emergency, which soon will be declared by Mr. Justin Trudeau Castro. We're going to be talking about that, plus all the latest news specifically here on this independent media broadcast. And there's so much information to get into, we're just going to jump right into it, as of course almost everything surrounding this global sickness has been politicized and weaponized for the benefit from the super rich and powerful that have only become more rich and more powerful. In yesterday's video, we talked about a disturbing propaganda piece by CNN that even outdid themselves with how absolutely ridiculous they have been, and their verbal diarrhea piece comparing Joe Rogan using a word to the events of January 6th was also officially changed by CNN to quote, it being so dangerous. Of course, going even as far in the article to compare Joe Rogan using a word to the Rwandan genocide. Yep, you got to read the article yourself to believe it. This, as Jake Paul just also came out recently in support of Joe Rogan, specifically stating that it was ESPN and Disney that decided to pull Joe Rogan from the UFC broadcast event that just happened this past Saturday. Now, in a totally unrelated story, but is an actual news update today, we're also finding out that the Biden administration is continuing to repeat the same talking point that Russia will stage an attack in order to justify the invasion of Ukraine, as of course the rhetoric from the U.S. administration has been becoming more hyperbolic by the day, as the president of Ukraine is even asking the president of the United States to visit his country in order to help push back against the quote imminent invasion fears that were spread by the U.S. administration. Zelensky even specifically stating that this would, quote, be a powerful sign and help stabilize the situation, and Joe Biden most likely will be taking a nap and unable to respond to this specific request. That last part was just a little bit of a conjecture on my part, but it is very interesting for the Ukrainian president to be asking the United States for proof of this, quote, imminent invasion, which the Ukrainian president is saying is provoking panic. This is very interesting and important perspective that, of course, we're not getting on the corporate media, that I would say is definitely fear-mongering this entire situation. In other totally unrelated news, but is related to billionaires that also rarely ever get reported on correctly in the corporate media news, we, of course, have this latest development that Elon Musk is being sued over, of course, the experimentation that is happening with his brain Neuralink product, which has already implanted a microchip within a monkey so the monkey could play a video game. This year, Elon Musk announced that this same company will be implementing human trials on implantable microchips, computer interfaces inside of people's heads, linking, of course, man and computer, which, at least for the monkey's sake, is being questioned in a court of law under the Federal Animal Welfare Act. Now, wait until these same people find out about what Dr. Fauci has been doing, not just to animals, but, of course, to orphaned children. And other billionaires just doing whatever they want news, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation introduced new board members to their organization that, of course, funds the World Health Organization, the U.S. corporate media, and, of course, also officially advises the president of China. Now, that's a lot of power for, of course, one small group and organization that is centrally controlled by Bill Gates. And now, to obfuscate that image PR-wise, they pulled this stunt, which essentially has their lackeys appointed to a board, which Bill still has full control of and has override powers, and essentially gets to do whatever he wants with the foundation, even with the board now being filled with his lackeys that previously worked for him or were influenced by his money and are also now super rich because of him. And in other horrible human being news, we have the ATF officially outdoing themselves with how horrible they have been. This is the same organization known for burning down buildings with small children inside of them that today, on Valentine's Day, is encouraging people to snitch on their exes so they could bust down their doors and take out their dogs as a, quote, Valentine's Day surprise. Yes, just sick, vicious behavior from a bureaucratic, dangerous government organization that is rarely held accountable, calling for people to snitch and to get retribution on their exes by using the full brunt of the police state. Horrible, absolutely pathetic behavior that deserves to be called out since, of course, your taxes are paying for this. This is another reason why, of course, today I'm wearing my You Had Me at F the System shirt. And screw this, if the FDA gets to pull this nonsense on Valentine's Day, I get to sell my shirts, which you could exclusively get on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. The shirt I'm wearing right now definitely gets a lot of attention. But in the spirit of love and Valentine's Day, today on LukeUncensored.com, I specifically will be talking about AIDS. Yes, Super AIDS. What's going on with that? Well, we're going to be talking about that plus a lot more, all exclusively on our own platform. There's a lot of very surprising details coming to light that are definitely worth mentioning, are very concerning, especially with all the information we know from the last 2 years. We're going to be getting into that plus a lot more for a very important conversation later on today, exclusively on LukeUncensored.com. I hope to see you there for our unfiltered, uncensored conversation, which, in my opinion, is more important to have than ever. Now, of course, yesterday was one of America's biggest holiday, where, of course, we worship consumerism, order sugary, salty, GMO processed goods, and watch some good old gladiators. This event is usually called the Super Bowl, and something really fascinating and amazing happened. No, it wasn't the limited amount of rioting that happened in Los Angeles, which surprisingly I thought was going to get more out of hand, but it didn't. There was only a few occasions where it did. Compared that to other major cities and their sports celebrations figuratively, and of course you would expect a lot worse. But one of the amazing things that happened yesterday was all the celebrities, all the establishment shills, including Ellen DeGeneres, took a very strong and bold stance, along with LeBron James, Jay-Z, Magic Johnson, and almost every single celebritard in Los Angeles took a stand and said, enough is enough. I will not be following the government's mandates. I will not be doing what Dr. Fauci tells me to do. And they all stood in strong alliance, demanding more personal freedom and liberty. So it's either that or they're just elitist snobs who believe that they could do whatever they want and that they're more special than the peasants, peon, poor people that, of course, routinely serve them and usually do have to wear masks. Now, being an optimist, I like to think that it's the larger kind of protest alliance of all the celebritards. I might be wrong here, but again, we're just talking about my own personal opinion. But the fact is that California is still under a health emergency. Small school children are still forced to wear masks, and the LA Public Health Government Office even told everyone that they will have to wear a mask inside of the Super Bowl. It looks like only the servants were forced to do so. Even the mayor of Los Angeles, that just days ago was telling everyone how he was holding his breath at major sports ball gathering events, not to violate his own mask mandates, was caught maskless, leaving many people commenting that he probably broke the world record on holding your breath. Now, other than just highlighting the clear kind of hypocrisy here, another aspect to really understand is that this is essentially the last nail in the coffin for the official narrative, for the agenda that proved that it was all absolute bullcrap, as of course the government messaging is still that you need to obey them and follow them and to, of course, mask up officially. And the few poor people that still have to listen to them and are seeing this as a scam. Even major corporate media institutions like the Washington Post and Bloomberg.com are reporting that this major government effort here, quote, didn't make much of a difference anyway, specifically declaring this as many states in the U.S. have already dropped their mandates and their lives are going back to normal, as even Washington, D.C. just announced that soon they will be ending their domestic passport system checks, leaving many people responding to the news of this, like Derek Van Orden, who said they must have watched the Super Bowl last night. And if you've been watching this independent media organization ever since mid-December, we were telling you that this was going to happen. It's here. What will be the response from all of this? Well, of course, a lot of anger and confusion from the general public. And as the United States is going back to normal, in Canada, it looks like almost the opposite of that is happening, as Justin Trudeau Castro has just announced that he is planning to invoke an emergency act in order to respond to protesters who, of course, want life to go back to normal, just like it is in many places around the United States and around the world. And when the people have come to the government protesting their mandates, the government is creating more mandates, which of course will create more protests. And now the Canadian government is talking about taking special, quote, temporary measures that, quote, may not be appropriate in normal times. This is the language of the CBC, the mouthpiece for the Canadian state, that also recently declared that freedom is a bad word associated with bad people. As of course the Canadian trucker protest still continues to this day, as of course major financial institutions including GoFundMe have decided to rob these freedom protesters of their money. So has TD Bank, as they have just officially frozen $1.1 million donated to the Freedom Convoy. Give, Send, Go, an official website, has also been under attack, being issued a Canadian court order to stop giving money to freedom protesters in Canada. Give, Send, Go said they would absolutely not do such a thing and that they were an American company and not under Canadian jurisdiction. So now today, they have been hacked, they have been attacked, their website has been taken down, and the names of the people who donated apparently is being leaked to the general public, as of course more and more this looks like a state-funded attack on an independent corporation that is deciding to of course be a vessel for the people, and with such destructive, nasty actions from the ATF, from the Canadian government. This is why when you could look a random stranger in the eyes and you could say, F the system, you could look back in your eyes and they could fall in love right there in that very moment. I hope you guys are enjoying Valentine's Day. I hope you guys are having fun. Enjoy life as we still have it in our modern day and age. Be grateful for everything we have in our existence. A lot of things are temporary. A lot of things are crazy, especially when you have government. When you don't have government, you have a lot of freedom, prosperity, love, passion, building, growth, all these beautiful, amazing things. But sadly, that's a reality that we don't have now. You still have it in some instances. Cherish those incidences. I got one more video coming your way about AIDS. Perfect Valentine video to make on LukeUncensored.com. If you want to watch that, definitely go join right now. LukeUncensored.com. I hope to see you there for another video later on today. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys watching and sharing this video. This is why I love you guys. Double. I love triple. I love you guys here on wearechange.org.